Art is a colourful card. It shows an androgynous figure creating something over a cauldron. On the Rider-Waite deck, this card is called Temperance, and although they are different names, they represent much the same thing once one comes to understand them. The word temperance can mean different things. It can mean our actual temper, such as our sense of balance and our sense of control. And it can also mean to create something, to temper something, for example, is to forge and create something. And so really this card, both on the Rider-Waite and on the Thoth Tarot, especially with all these esoteric symbols, is talking about that balance, harmony and duality that we have seen hinted at throughout the entire card. Now over on the Tree of Life, Art is path number 25, which connects Tifereth to Yesod. We can see straight away what we're talking about here. Tifereth is the sun and Yesod is the moon, and so clearly there is that balance and harmony coming through straight away. Yesod is also connected with what could be referred to as a reflection of the subconscious. So imagine that world of dreams and the world of inspiration. Of course, an artist gets inspiration from somewhere outside of themselves. They don't know where it's come from, this creative spark. And so it's saying when we integrate these elements of the universe together, we find our path, our middle way, and we walk on that path and create. Although this is not necessarily about the creation of works of art, but about the art of alchemy. The Hebrew character, which is seen at the bottom of the card, is the letter Samek, and this can be translated to mean a type of prop or a type of crutch that one would lean upon. And so what this is suggesting here is that in order to follow this spiritual path and to practice the art of alchemy, we must give up our fears. We must face those fears, which are often within the subconscious, and work through them. And so we have to give up crutches which we are leaning against, things which are perhaps comfortable lies. They allow us to see the day through, but they block us spiritually from moving along this path because they hold us back. And so Samek, the prop or crutch, which we must give up to move on. The astrological symbol that we can see here at the bottom again is Sagittarius, and here is where we'll start to understand some of the symbols which are going to come up on the actual card. The card is about integrating opposites, which is something, if you've seen the series from the beginning, is seen in every single card, this one more so than quite a lot of them. Now, on the Zodiac, the character of Art is shown opposite the previous card of the Lovers, which was Gemini. And so on the Lovers card, we were speaking about this word solve, so dissolving into the spiritual world. And here on the Art card, we're going to be talking about coagula, which is to put those things back together again. Or in other words, solve is to go from the material into the spiritual, and coagula is to bring from the spiritual back down to the material, to manifest. Of course, when we separate something, and then we clean up and improve each separate part before bringing them back down together, then what we have created is improved. It could even be a new version of something, like if our computer's broken and we pull out all the parts and clean them up and upgrade them and then stick them back together, the computer has been improved. This is the origin of this world of spiritual purity, the idea that the spiritual seeker must purify themselves and that everything must be purified and refined into something new and enlightened. And this is the origin of the art of alchemy. The actual figure that you can see in the Art card is again connected with the Lovers card. In fact, it's a fusion, a bringing together of those two Empress and Emperor characters that we actually saw on the Lovers card. In that respect, it's also a bringing together of the Sun and the Moon and the energies of them, which of course are masculine and feminine energies. So if we go back to the Lovers card, which there is a full episode on if you want to have a look at that first, there is bees and serpents shown on their robes. And so these are the Emperor card and the Empress card as well, so every single card links up in that regard. And the bees were a symbol of fertility, and the serpent was a symbol of Ouroboros, or the circles and cycles of life. So the fertility gives rise to the continuing of life's cycles. Coming back to the art card, the two figures have merged to actually become one figure. Because the figure has both masculine and feminine attributes to it, it is an androgynous figure. It's neither masculine nor feminine. It has equal parts of both aspects of sun and moon, if you like. And everything that you can see in this figure has a harmony within it. You can see blonde hair upon the darker skinned side of the androgynous figure, and you can see darker curly hair on the lighter side of the figure. You can see a silver crown and a golden crown, and various other symbols like that, which we will come to. Now, you can see in a prominent position on either side of the cauldron here the lion and the eagle. And yet, eagle-eyed viewers may realise that they have actually swapped colours. And so the lion is now white and the eagle is now red, where they were opposite over on the lovers. Fabulous attention to detail. The water of which they stand upon is actually on fire. And so here we have a union of elements, of course, the element of fire and the element of water coming together into that union. And you can see that they are actually placing into the cauldron drops of blood and white tincture, so the red tincture and the white tincture are the masculine and feminine fluids that we have spoken about before. The cauldron itself actually has upon it a sign, a symbol, and this symbol shows a raven perching on top of a skull. This brings us back to the death card, which we had in the previous video, and so one can see straight away that this card is not only speaking about balance in itself, but is a balance of all the previous cards brought together. The cauldron is a purity. It has a wonderful, perfect balance of masculine and feminine energy in its mixture, in its alchemical mixture. They are being mixed up and they are being perfected and refined so that something brand new can be created. And of course, when something brand new is created, as we saw over on the death card, it means the death of the old and the birth of the new. So really the raven and the skull here on there stand for the waste products, if you like, which are, if you create something in a cauldron, there's usually like a bit of sediment or something in the bottom. That's what it means. It's the waste which is thrown out as the new product of your alchemy is born. The cauldron itself is bright yellow, and this brings us back to the Tree of Life again, the sixth Sephiroth, Tifereth, which is ruled by the sun, and therefore yet again representing a balance and harmony. We've got sun and moon and balance, and if you want to look at it in terms of ceremonial magic, the middle pillar, the central pillar of the Tree of Life, and we can see Tifereth prominently there. You can see, if you look carefully, the Tau along the actual rim of the cauldron, the cross of the Tau, which we have seen before, and this here represents new life yet again, such as the symbol of the Ankh. There is a rainbow colour which is coming down throughout the actual dress of the character in art. The rainbow here is the purification process which is occurring within the cauldron. As one can see, it flows down towards it. There is a stream of light flowing and passing up through the figure's forms, all the way through the heart, and almost like bursting out like enlightenment yet again. There is also a larger rainbow crescent which can be seen joining from this at the actual back of the card, and this contains within it a sentence, and the sentence says, "Visita rectificando invenius occultum lapidem." And so what this means is, visit the interior parts of the earth. By purification thou shalt find the hidden stone. Now, Crowley goes into this translation within his actual book of Thoth, and in very simple terms it's describing the alchemical process, basically the results of what has happened within that mixture down there in the cauldron, and it's talking about it within ourselves as well as in the universe, as we've seen before. So when we go deep within our heart centre, within ourselves, and we purify everything within us, all our thoughts, all our dreams, our hopes and fears, that purification leads to the discovery of a hidden stone, which is the philosopher's stone essentially, and the hidden stone, in alchemy, the turning of a dull stone into gold and so on, is a metaphor for enlightenment, of course, to turn a dull man into a shining man. We've turned something dark into something light, so we have colour and harmony now surrounding us, which is the rainbow symbol. One of the most important elements to actually perform this type of act is one's will, and more importantly one's focused and directed will, which is, of course, the do as thou wilt is the law of Thelema, and we can see this echoed here in this arrow coming up through the rainbow, which is of course the arrow of Sagittarius, but it's also the arrow of one's directed will. So we can see here that the figure is actually pouring into the cauldron both water and fire, and so clearly we have an integration here of the opposites of elements coming together into a unity. We can also see that the figure is wearing a large medallion, or really what is referred to as a lamen, within the region of the heart. Now, this type of pendant is used in ceremonial magic. It covers the heart and therefore is said to infuse the heart with something of the energy of which is within it, and this particular lamen shows 6 spheres. Now, the number 6 is yet again, of course, as we've seen earlier, the 6th Sephiroth Tifereth, the sun, and so the body here may be feminine, but the masculinity is ruling the heart, therefore we have another duality. But perhaps more importantly for the actual symbols, they do look like breasts, and this brings us to the goddess Artemis, the goddess Artemis, who is sometimes known as the goddess with many breasts, and one can see figures like this. And, you know, people may think, well, you know, looks very strange, but of course it's all about fertility, and it's a great reverence of the milk of life, the fertility of life, and the of course child rearing and things like that as well. And so what we can see here, if this is Artemis, is that she is the moon goddess in her feminine form, and the moon goddess Artemis does use a bow, and the bow is essentially a crescent moon, and we can see this at the top of the card. The Artemis issues green, which represents fertility, and Venus, as we've seen on cards before, with the sun encased around the heart, with the masculinity and the femininity coming together. We have the harmony of sexual union and that sexual magic and creation that we have seen before. So much coming together there just in one symbol. You can also see that the arrow that we spoke about before is actually passing through the lamen, so that's actually coming up right through the very middle, which of course yet again is harmony. To draw the art card, it's a very good card in your readings. It can mean that you've learnt to bring about a type of balance and harmony within your life, or it could be asking you to do so. It could be actually urging the querent of the cards to keep calm, to, you know, temper your emotions. Don't let things get out of hand. You know, people can get too angry or too sad and things like that, and it doesn't create that balance which is required. To look at things with perspective and to look at things with harmony is to do them justice. To look at them with just one extreme of emotion is to misinterpret them. The card can also reflect a type of higher learning, a type of higher knowledge, and so says that you are learning a lot upon your journey. We've travelled quite a lot now throughout the tarot journey, and you're bound to have learnt different things, starting off as the Fool and coming through to this level. The Fool is no longer quite as foolish and stepping out into the world without knowing anything, but has begun to learn that he was within this universe, and this universe is not random, it has order, it has meaning, and he is starting to understand what this meaning is.